Welcome to the Make and Design podcast. I'm Carina Gardner, and today we're going to talk about how gardening is an awful lot like business. I just spent the last 2 or 3 weekends working on my yard, and it is a disaster. Many of you know we built this barn shed in our backyard, and it's my new office. And actually, the day I'm recording this is the first day I am working from it, like full day, instead of just coming in and taping something. And that is really exciting because I'm kind of trying to make the transition to get myself into this barn so that I'm away from my family, which is really ironic because as I speak, my 12-year-old is upstairs hanging out with the dog. So still in the barn with me, but it's all good. Anyway, I have been spending all this time working on our yard because they had to dig up our entire yard to get the plumbing in because I wanted a bathroom back here. And this is caused all kinds of issues because now we've got misplaced rocks. We've got like no grass in a good portion of the yard. We have plants who died. Like we have a huge tree behind our barn that just died. The roots, it couldn't handle it. It wasn't getting water. And we have a tree that needs to be cut down. So we have like all these kind of crazy things that's related to yard work. And despite the last name of Gardner, gardening is not my thing. I would not say I'm a great gardener because I am so worried about other things in my life right now. I have kids, small kids, older kids. I've got my businesses. We have a dog and 2 cats, and we travel a lot. And so it just feels like there are crazy things going on. During the month of May, we had like a true Maycember because my middle child was graduating and a senior, and then we had some trips planned. It was just a little bit nutty. But we decided to dedicate a good portion of May to getting the yard back in line. So we had some concrete put in front of the barn. You had sprinklers that need to be fixed and set. We had to put in new seed for grass. And I kind of made some decisions because I was getting really frustrated with a lot of our gardening beds. And one of the issues was that we were just getting tons and tons of weeds. So I thought we could talk about 10 different gardening analogies that are related to your business growth that I've been actually experiencing firsthand recently. So the very first one is in relation to these new garden beds that I've put together. I have been weeding them every summer and they've been making me crazy. So the first thing that you're going to need in your business growth, if you're building a design business, if you're building a physical products business, any kind of creative business, is you need rocks, okay? These are very much like systems and boundaries. So if I lay down rocks, I won't get as many weeds. And that is exactly what I did. And I'm not done with all of the beds in my garden yet, but the very front one is the one I'm constantly having to weed out. And I put rocks down. I put these beautiful green and pink bushes in, and already I can tell a huge difference. I'm hardly weeding at all because these rocks are keeping these weeds out of my garden beds. So in business, rocks are something like your systems, your boundaries, and your processes. They don't eliminate every problem or every weed, but they make it way harder for chaos to grow. Think automated emails or very clear policies or financial structures. They create a weed-resistant environment. And for those of you who don't have people working for you, and by the way, for years and years and years, I did this all by myself. I still had to create boundaries and processes and systems for myself so that I remembered how to do everything, because there are a lot of things that you have to do in your business, right? And so these rocks will keep you in place. Now, number 2 is, let's talk about those weeds, okay? These weeds really represent distractions or really bad habits. And I mean, I am really good at growing the weeds. So weeds pop up when you're just not paying attention. And in business, weeds are those unhelpful distractions. They could be comparisons, comparing yourself to another business or another designer. They could be shiny objects. Oh my gosh, this looks really great over here. I'm going to try it, instead of really paying attention to the stuff you should be working on right now. tasks that don't move the needle. So that would be anything that doesn't actually add to your sales of your business, especially if you're a designer. There are lots of activities that seem like the activities we should be doing, but don't actually make you more money. And if you don't tend that garden regularly, like really pay attention to it for the weeds, your business will get choked by things that just don't belong. Isn't that really the way weeds work? All right, number 3 is compost. Now, I will admit I'm not a compost girl, but I love the analogy of this, so I wanted to use it. And that is learning from your mistakes. So gardeners use waste to feed future growth. Now, think about that. Every time we have some waste, it feels like waste, that can be used to feed future growth. So in business, your failures, your flops, or your missteps, this is your compost. Every time you fail at something, every time you flop at something, every time you have a misstep, that is your compost. You're going to use that. You're going to break it down and turn it into something that nourishes the next thing you plant. Now, I think this is so good because truthfully, I think the more failures you have, the easier it is to create more beautiful things. And this is what compost does, right? That waste allows new, beautiful things to flourish. And I have made a lot of mistakes, especially in my design businesses over the years. And as I make mistakes and figure out what really works, it's amazing how much future growth you really get from it. All right, let's talk about the thing that we always think about when we think about gardening, and that is having lots of sunlight. So number 4 is sunlight, and that is really your visibility and your marketing. So even the very best seed, that's like really a great seed, it's got all the nutrients ready to go, it cannot grow in the dark, okay? It just can't. If there is no sunlight, it cannot grow. So no matter how good your product is, if you don't shine some light on it, i.e. doing some marketing, some outreach, some visibility, it's just not going to grow. And your business needs constant exposure to really thrive. And the sun really does this. It brings warmth, it brings light. And I love that it really brings exposure, which is all that marketing is supposed to be doing for you. In our Marketing for Creatives groups, all we're doing is talking about exposure. How do we get exposure? How do we get audience to really see what we're doing? Because that's how we make sales, right? That's it. It's a very simple concept, and yet we spend a lot of time doing silly things that don't bring us visibility and sales, and that is our sunlight. All right, number 5 is water. I planted... Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 potted plants or potted pots right by my back door. And if you've ever seen my house, I have a pink back door. It goes out to our pool, and now it comes out to my barn. And I don't know what I was thinking that day, but I was just like, I like pink. I've never seen a pink back door. We have a pool in our backyard. I was like, I'm going to let it have Florida vibes. So pink door. I should probably have flamingos too, but I don't. But anyway, so every day I'm now walking outside this back door, and I love it. And when I do, I see my 5 big pots there. In those pots, I've planted an herb garden. I do this every single year because I like having fresh herbs for cooking with, and I like them being really close. So they're not out here by my barn, even though I've considered doing some potted plants out here. They're right next to my back door, next to where I usually cook in the kitchen. And I have to either myself, or I've been trying to get my 12-year-old to do this, water it consistently. So that's our number 5. Watering is a consistent thing. If you don't consistently water something, what happens? Even if it's getting sun, even if it has nutrients from the dirt, it dies, right? So plants don't need a flood. They just need regular watering. And don't you think some of the things we do are floods? Like, I get really excited about something and I just start blogging like crazy, right? And then it kind of like tapers off and I don't do it hardly anymore. So that's like really a flood when we go into action and then we don't do it regularly over time. Business is exactly the same. We need these small, consistent actions instead of these big bursts of effort. And a lot of times you see, especially designers, have these big bursts of efforts because we're really excited, we're creatives, and we get into it and we're really excited. Make sure that big burst of effort becomes a consistent burst of effort every day or every week or however you're doing it. Okay. So water daily and show up regularly. That is how our deep roots really grow. Sometimes people think that, unless they have been around for a little while and they've kind of seen, they think that a lot of my success has happened like instantaneously. They're just barely seeing me. When truth is, I have a 17-year-old business. Some people took classes from me in my first year or two of business. I spent lots of years working on a doctorate, and these things happen over a long period of time. And 17 years doesn't maybe even sound like a lot, but I can track my businesses to my senior's age because she was a year old when I started my business, and she is 18 now, and she's headed off to college. So we're talking about the business is as old as my little kids, starting when they were little. And when you start thinking about it in that way, it's like, oh my gosh, I've been watering consistently for 17 years or for however many years you've been doing it. That's a really big deal, you guys. A very, very big deal. All right, number 6 is pruning. Now, we have 2 or 3 rose bushes in our front yard. I love rose bushes. I wish we had more of them. And as soon as I can get my yard under control, I'm probably going to take out some things and put in more roses. I'm a sucker for a traditional rose. I love roses. In fact, my sister who lives in California has like these huge, long rows of roses. She just loves roses so much. So pruning is a really necessary thing when you have roses, right? So I go out there every October and I prune back. I come in the spring and I prune back. And I was just looking, and it's June, and one of my big yellow rose bushes is like almost a tree at this point. It's so beautiful and it makes me so happy. And the whole thing about pruning, especially in business, is it develops better stuff for you, right? And pruning in the business sense is basically saying no to things, right? So the only way for the things that are really important to you, for them to flourish and grow, is to say no to other things, right? Because otherwise it'll get in the way, right? Those branches that need to be cut down, they'll just get in the way. So to grow strong, you have to cut things back. And in business, pruning looks like saying no to the wrong clients, trimming offers that do not work, or cutting unnecessary tasks. It feels really scary to do these things, but it's what makes room for real growth. One of my favorite books ever is a book called The Blue Castle. I read this when I was probably 13 or 14. I was really into Lucy Maud Montgomery, who wrote Anne of Green Gables, and it's probably one of my most favorite books ever. If you've never read it before, go read it. It's phenomenal. And it's about this girl, Valency, and for whatever reason, her family always calls her Doss, and she hates it. And she lives this very small life. And one day, she basically, the premise of the thing is, and you guys know, if you love Anne of Green Gables, you will love this book. The whole premise of the whole thing is that she basically finds out she's going to die. She gets a letter from a doctor, and so she thinks she's going to die. And so she's just like, well, I'm going to die anyway, so I'm going to live this full life. So she does some crazy things, especially for the Victorian or Edwardian era. I'm not even sure what era it is, but one of the things she does is she goes and there's a lovely bush that she got as a kid, and her mom will never let her, do anything with it. It doesn't have flowers. It doesn't have, so she's really frustrated. And because her mom won't let her cut it back because it's like a pretty bush. And just like out of total and complete craziness, she like goes out there and she just hacks at it. She like prunes the whole thing because she's so angry that it has no flowers on it. Well, all these things happen to her, and several months later, she comes back to her house, and this bush has grown the most beautiful roses on it. And it is through this hacking process that we are able to create beautiful blooms. And what feels like this horrific thing, saying no to these clients or saying no to offers or no to opportunities or cutting away activities that we think are really helping our business move and they're really not, what it does is makes us bloom. And I just think that's such a cool idea and such a cool thing. All right, so pruning, it's a big deal. That was number 6. Number 7 is seasons. So let's talk about business cycles. So the number one thing you cannot do is force tulips to grow in wintertime, or roses, or daffodils, or anything else. You can't force them to grow in winter. And here's the thing, your business, it also has seasons. It has times to plant, time to grow, time to harvest, and time to rest. And you need to respect the season that you're in. If you are in the hustle season, the season of planting and giving things sunlight and giving it water and consistently, that is a very busy season. But then there's also a season where things are growing naturally and you're just doing maintenance work. For a designer, that's just putting your products up, right? In the planting season, often it's we're learning new software and we're figuring out all the new things that we need to know how to do. So respect the season that you're in and don't expect a harvest when you're supposed to be building roots. Now, for those of you in Design Suite or the university, you guys know I talk about this often because I run into it all the time. The people who come to me who've been doing this for 3 months, they don't understand why they're not making as much money as they want to be, and they don't understand that their stuff is just not planted deep enough. The roots haven't grown. And because of that, there needs to be more time. A lot of times people don't realize the lifeline of our businesses are really literally time. Putting the time into it, putting the weekly time into it and giving it the yearly time that's necessary. There is magic in time, total magic, because that's how we build and grow deep roots. If I started my first business ever and I said, I'm going to start a university, probably would have failed almost automatically. Instead, the university is like my 7th business. It's way deep in. And doesn't mean that it's any easier, but there are things I understand now that make it easier to build that business, right? And so we have to really pay attention to the seasons that we're in and make sure that we're being careful about those business cycles. All right, number 8 is seeds. What are seeds? We give out, it's so funny, I'm looking at this, laughing a little bit. So in Design Suite, we give out these cute little badges. We give these cards with badges, and every badge means something. They're kind of like Girl Scout badges. And the first thing that you get when you join Design Suite Mastermind is we mail you a card that's the seedling badge. The seeds are representations of ideas. So not every single seed will grow, but some will bloom really, really well. They will bloom out of control, they will be wild, and it will be awesome and exciting, okay? You're going to plant a lot of ideas when you're building this business, right? And some are not going to sprout. Some are going to take years to grow. I'm thinking about my peony plants. Oh my gosh, 3 years later, I'm just hoping for a bloom. And then others will explode overnight. Here's the goal, you guys. Just keep planting seeds. The more you plant, the more opportunities will come to you. So go ahead and plant all of those seeds. All right, number 9 is mulch. Now, what is so great about mulch? So if you're not using rocks, mulch is really nice because it protects the roots and it holds in the moisture. And this is a little bit like having some kind of support system. If you are someone who has a team, that would be your support system. For those of you who are going at this alone, you're a solo entrepreneur, then maybe this is your spouse, it's a partner, it's friends, it's mastermind people, right? These are people who are really going to support you. Your business mulch might be a good virtual assistant. It might be a mentor. It might be a coach. It could be a community. The mulch for us is Design Suite or the university, because those are huge communities. If you're in marketing for creatives, that is your mulch, right? So it's going to hold in the moisture, because a lot of times we're looking for motivation for a lot of different places. And often, if we can join a community, then that is where we will keep up our motivation. They also keep your foundation strong, and they reduce the burnout, right? We want to reduce burnout as much as possible, and a team or some kind of support is going to help you with that. All right, we got through these pretty fast, you guys, so I only have one last one, and that's number 10, the fence. Now, this is an interesting one, okay? I want you to think about your fence as your brand. And we're going to hold our entire yard in with this fence. What does it do? It keeps out pests. It defines your space. Your branding, your voice, the visuals, the message, it creates a very clear boundary of who you want to work with and who you don't. If you're a designer for sticker sheets, then you're finding people who want stickers. If you're a designer for fabric, you're going to want people who quilt, right? These are clear boundaries, and the messier your brand is, the harder it is to build boundaries. Here's the thing about a good brand. It says, here's what's inside my garden. In my garden, you can only get roses and daffodils, right? So it keeps the right customers in and recognizing what you've built, and so they can really enjoy it. Think about that fence. It is a really, really profound thing. And the better those boundaries are, like the stronger that fence is, the better your brand is going to show off. All right, I hope this helped. I think this is really fun to think about your business growth as a garden. I've been thinking about it as a garden for a while, because we use in Design Suite, we use like Carina Gardner gardening as one of the things that we use for kind of our point system. We use, we do these patches, and these patches all mean different things. And I think this is like next level, which is kind of fun to talk about the fence being your brand and the mulch being your team or your support, and your seeds, your seedling ideas there growing, and then the seasons in your business cycles. So really kind of pay attention to this, come back to this as you're trying to grow, and just kind of remember, sometimes we just need a reminder of what we should be doing and not doing in our business. Want to hang out more? Go to designsuitecourses.com/free to get our weekly freebies and patterns, die cut files, and more. Can't wait to see you there.